If it's knowledge, humour, or a different perspective that you seek, look for the wisdom in the words that we speak. Words and wisdom. We'll let you decide.
Hello and welcome back to Words and Wisdom after a long period off. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it, Mikey?
It has been a hot minute, matey, but we're back. And we're back and we're on it. Honestly, mate, I'm really excited about this. I've been missing this.
Oh, have you missed me, baby?
Can you look at my face and just tell?
Yeah, that's not a fake smile. I've seen his fake smiles.
Like
when Chrissy comes on the bus, fake smiles everywhere.
It's mainly baby when she's crying.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm a bit apprehensive. I've got a lot to say. Do you know the one thing that I've noticed, Mikey? Yeah, I've got a lot to say. So sit quiet, shut the fuck up, and listen. God, it's been a crazy year, mate. It's been a crazy year, and these last few months have just been like the tip of the iceberg for me. Even though we're going back into normality in society, that's the hardest part for me. That's the hardest part because I've built up this lifestyle of being on my own in my own house, running my business, doing training, just doing the shit I need to do, and seeing my girlfriend. And then all of a sudden I've been plonked back into society with everybody there. And it's been hard for me because I'm not naturally social. Like, I'm not a great social kind of person. I get very socially anxious, very socially awkward when I was younger. And a lot of that came back to me from having been sat in my house for so long, not interacting with people. And it's like the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's what happened when I stopped doing these podcasts with you. I just lost. Look at the bottom of you.
All the confetti. Party time, baby.
Celebrating being back. And I just lost the ability to communicate. And I think my job is to listen mainly. It's to give information, but it's to listen because I can't give information if I haven't got the correct information. So it's a lot of listening. And when I'm listening, I'm not getting a chance to speak, or I'm not getting a chance to say the things that I want to say because people aren't paying me to cancel me. So I don't get to say the stuff I need to say to feel mentally healthy. And these podcasts help me to do that. Like right now, I'm going off on a bit of a rant and I'm saying about how I've been feeling. And I don't get a chance to do that with clients because that's not what they're paying me for. Yeah. And with the girlfriend, she's been going through some health trials and tribulations. So it's been kind of my job to help her as well. And we've managed to get her to see a professional in that aspect and that aspect. So that's taken a lot of stress off of our relationship, which has been lovely. But this helps me to get everything off my chest. And I think we need that. We need that as people. We need the ability, someone to listen to us and someone to really actively listen and then give us, like you're about to do, give us a nice, healthy response and fix my problems. Go, Mikey.
Oh, if only you knew who you were talking to. Yeah. I think that's what this podcast is, mate. It's a space for us to confide and come together and have a chat about our mental health and our history and what we see the world being and how we see the world. And hopefully in that, because we've always said for this podcast, if we can help mini us along the way, that's a beautiful want. And that is what I genuinely want from this, because I'm healing right now. I've felt not doing this podcast has harmed me. And it's, again, not giving me that safe space or place to come and just... What do you call it? Confiding?
You confiding in myself, but I guess you just opening up, man. Unloading, getting rid of all that stuff. Because it does. I'm so tenacious in life. I'm constantly on a mission. Got to do edits. Now I've got to go over here, and it's just busy. And in honesty, mate, when even people were saying, "Oh, don't do that podcast because it's affecting the business in this way," I'll be right up with you on that, and you've seen it anyway. I just said to them, but you don't know how much it's helping me mentally, legitimately helping me. We get together, we have our chat in the morning, but also I feel like we're achieving something. I feel like we're creating a product for people to go to, listen to, and learn from. And I feel that in podcasts. Like, the best podcasts for me aren't the ones that are really strict and rigid and structured and built up, and I'm going to teach you something today. It's just a beautiful chat of friends coming together, learning along the way, and I fit into that process, and they're the podcasts I go to. So that's what I want to create. Go back to what you were saying about People saying, don't do that podcast. And here's what I realised, because there was the obviously stint of craziness that we went through with the feminism and potentially, misperceived conversation that was had.
Yeah.
And that's why I pulled away I pulled away because I felt I was affecting your business, and I felt quite guilty for the way that it panned out. I still don't believe that I was in the wrong from what happened, because you was involved in the conversation. But I pulled away because I felt I'm actually affected. And then all the comments that people had said to you in the past, like, "Oh, don't go near Zach."
Yeah.
I started to believe. I was like, what? Maybe I am a bit of a narcissist, and maybe I can't see it. But the thing is the people that attacked, made negative remarks about myself and the podcast were people that didn't even listen to the podcast. They just saw a snippet of what someone had put on the story. The people that listened to the podcast through and through were actually I had 2 or 3 messages saying, "Oh, when's the next episode? When are you getting back to it?"
Yeah, I've the exact same. That's what gave me the thirst to come back and do it, because I'm talking to those people right now. That's the only people I'm doing this platform for. And I know you, man. I've been on a long journey with you, and for people to, like you say, see a snippet of something and then make judgment really hurt me, because they weren't willing to do the groundwork. They weren't willing to do the investigation of who is he, what's this all about, further. They're willing to get 10% of what went off and go off on that. And that didn't seem fair to me.
No. And you know what's funny about that situation is, I have had a distorted view of women in the past. We've spoke about it on the podcast. I've been addicted to them sexually and seen them as an object. I've been through that. I then came away from that, but then I started to resent them. And I was like, oh, women are this, and this. And that happened that was recently, like maybe 2 years ago now. And that was a year. So it was 2 years ago, up until the second year, sorry. I really had a distorted view. I was like, I don't like them. They're mischievous, they're liars, they're this, they're that. And I had some reason to believe that, but not to believe that they was all like that, obviously. Of course they're not. And then after that, I met a Chloe that helped me to see that there are very, very good women. Very good women. In fact, I look at my grandma and my mother. I mean, my mother, she can be a good woman, but that's maybe where I picked up the distorted view of women, because... the way that mine and my mum's relationship wasn't always fantastic, and she'll admit that, she'll openly admit that, but now we have got a good relationship. But it's not just women that I had that distorted view about, it was people in general. If you ask me about men, I don't think men are all fun. I think men are some of the dirtiest, slimiest sleazebags going. In fact, I was one of them.
Yeah.
I know that you've had moments of that yourself. But yeah, I'm not going to get into the topic too much, but I just think it was taken out of context. And but the thing is this is why I didn't talk on the matter, because I don't need to prove myself to anybody. The people that know me, the people that are under my help and guidance with personal training, coaching, my friends and family, my loved ones, they all know who I am. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. And when people say, Zach, why you should make a comment, like, no, I shouldn't do shit for you. I'm going to be straight up with people.
And you on the phone to me, we were talking, I understood exactly where you were coming from. I was just compassionate to the whole situation. And the thing I respect about you is the authenticity for me. Like, we keep saying every episode on everything we've done, we have distorted views. We've had bad views in the past. We don't think even the things we say now are always 100% correct. We're learning. We're trying our best to go from our mental health, go through the journey we've been on, and come to a bit of a understanding of where we lie, where we're at, where our minds are at. And we just have to keep doing constant check-ins.
Every day.
We have to accept that we suffer, I'll use the word, with mental health, with mental problems and or predispositions. And we've got to keep working on that. And particularly in the past when we were totally engrossed in our egos, in that narcissistic tendencies of ourselves, where we had toxic love, we just wanted to be accepted, we wanted validation, we wanted all these things, so it made us act in certain ways. We talk about it now, and that's the best way of helping others. It's the best way of helping self, is accepting it, understanding it, and then documenting it.
I think understanding comes before acceptance, because you can't accept something you're not aware of. So when I used to smoke weed every now and again, I'd smoke weed and then I'd go into this spiral of paranoia as such. But part of the paranoia highlighted the negative aspects of myself and amplified them. So I'd be like, I'm actually narcissistic. I am really, really narcissistic. And then once you're able to see them, because we all have, I still have negative traits to this day that I'm probably not aware of. People on the camera probably pick it, subscribers, whatever. You could probably pick them up, and I'm not aware of them. Until I understand them and become aware of them, then I can accept them. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, how am I going to fix that maybe? Or balance that, let's say. How am I going to balance that? Because the negative aspects such as ego and lust and greed, when out of control, become overbalanced. But at the same time, when you take all of that away, that's also the opposite side of balance. So, but you want to get a little bit of both. And balance doesn't mean 50% lust and ego and drinking and 50% of meditation. And sometimes it might be 70-30. Sometimes it might be the opposite way. Like, for example, I'm a big believer in semen retention and the act of not looking at lustful images and pornography and trying not to ejaculate too much. And that helps me.
Yeah.
However, over the past few months, I've been super busy, putting lots and lots of pressure on myself with my business, with my training, with my relationship. And I got to a point where I was stressed every day to the point like I feel anxious in my chest. I'm looking around and I'm very judgmental and I can feel my brain just doing negative things.
Yeah.
And I actually had sex last night, a couple of beers. And in midweek, hey, lads, look at me. And I today feel better for it. And that's because it was not the right time for me to have all that energy. Because I was already too stressed.
Yeah.
And then I'm adding this energy and I'm sat at a desk and this energy is going nowhere. And now I'm taking it out on everybody. So this journey of semen retention, of balance that we was just speaking about, balance isn't always 50-50. It's not always 70-30. Sometimes it's the opposite way. Sometimes you need more of the dopamine, the alcohol, the relaxation. Sometimes you need more of the meditation, the clean slate, the teetotal, no drinking.
Yeah.
But it all depends what part of life you're on.
The only thing constant is change. I love that quote because we're forever moving and sometimes we just find ourselves in alignment and we've got the balance 50-50 and everything's just right and the plates are all spinning. But as soon as it's like, no, I really need to graph now. I've got so much to do. We've got a festival on. We're going to put this on. The balance has to shift a little bit. You have to emphasize on what you need in that moment. And that's absolutely integral. And I love this fluffy word, mate. Happiness. I really do. I'm into it because it gives me a bit of a guideline and helps me build a moral compass up. I want happiness in my life. I want happiness in your life. I want happiness in Chris's life and Ella's life and the people close to me and the people watching this that resemble with it and understand it. So happiness for me, I've built up an idea of what happiness is to me and what it is. And it's going to be different for every individual. We're all going to have a different purpose, a different passion and a different way of accessing happiness. And that's what it is. Semen retention for you is something that you registered. This is helping me feel free. This is helping me not in a place of overthinking, overstimulation, anger, all them negative aspects of yourself. You found a route to a part of happiness in that. And that's what we're doing in this podcast again, is opening the toolbox up and going, right, you need a wrench at the minute. You take that. It might be semen retention. It might be meditation. It might be this. What works for me won't work for you. What works for you won't work for somebody else who watches this.
I want to put a bit of a spin on the happiness concept that you've just put out there.
Don't shit on it.
I'm going to take a big dump on it, a big steaming pile of poo.
Yeah.
Purdy's poop pile.
Yeah.
Purdy's poop pile.
Can we have that as a segment of the podcast?
Yeah, welcome to Purdy's poop pile. In today's section of Purdy's poop pile, here's a poop we made earlier. What was
the spin-off on happiness.
So, happiness, isn't always accrued from doing the things that you are supposed to love doing. Like I love my job. I'm very grateful for the position that I'm in. I'm self-employed. I get to be my own boss. I also get to help people change their lives. And it's beautiful. But don't get me wrong, there are days when it doesn't make me happy. It in fact stresses me out because I'm dealing with lots of people trying to help and solve their problems. What makes me happy is when they come to me 4 weeks later and they show me the pictures.
Yeah.
Or they come to me 12 weeks, or even 12 months later, and they're like, Zach, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have done this, and this. And you can see them on that journey, and I've kind of kickstarted their journey. That's happiness to me. But that doesn't come every day. You have to work for happiness. Happiness isn't something that is given to us or something that you can just find in a day. It's something that you have to spend 6 days being relatively, I wouldn't say unhappy. Some days you might be really unhappy. Some days, at the best, content. But then on day 7 or week 4 or month 6, and you get that day of pure happiness, it's worth it. It's worth it, mate. It is worth it. Same with relationships. You need to put the work in. You can't just get into a relationship and be happy. You can at the start because you've got all those chemicals, but then it requires fine-tuning every day.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything on your mind that, because there's this energy, yeah, I'm feeling kind of paranoid about this, okay, let's have a talk about it. Cool. It's all out there. It's all out the way. We're feeling good. We've done the work on that day. Now we're happy in a relationship together. Happiness requires work. I don't care what anybody says.
No, I completely agree with that. I think it was a famous philosopher that on his deathbed, it was the one that said, you might know the philosopher, but he said, follow your bliss. And then on the deathbed, he said he wished he'd changed that whole statement to follow your blisters. And when I heard that, I thought that was very powerful, because go through that pain, but that's where this beautiful godlike nirvana feeling comes from. And I do think that is true. But it needs to be, again, a balance of happy pain. You need to know the pursuit you're on is the one that suits you.
I was just thinking of the film, The Pursuit of Happiness, as you said that. Well, just before you said that word. That's insane.
Yeah.
He says on there, was it Abraham Lincoln or someone says, maybe happiness, that's all it ever is just a pursuit. And I think this is why I wanted to challenge you on the happiness, is you said you want happiness. Does that ever become, and I'll ask the question, I won't say what I think, but does that ever become toxic? Does that, when you're saying I want to be happy, you're basically saying, from a Buddhist perspective, I guess, that you lack happiness. So you're going, I lack it, and now whenever you lack something, you'll never ever be happy anyway. So you're saying, I want happiness, I'm lacking it, therefore I'm not happy.
Well,
when you say you're happy, and it's easier said than done. If you're happy in a situation, any situation, which is not, like I say, easier said than done, does that create happiness in itself? What's your thoughts?
For instance, I mean, happiness is a baseline for me, and because I know what it is, I know what it exists of for me, I've built up that idea of what it is. When I have a certain...
What is it for you, then?
So what it is pursuing those things that make me feel full and authentic. So when I'm with...
How do you know when you've achieved that?
It's an inner GPS as well. It's definitely down to feeling. It's not in mind, it's through heart.
What sort of feeling do you get?
I'm telling you now.
Questions.
I love it. So yesterday, I was filming somebody else's podcast down in the other side of Nottingham. And it isn't easy. Like, I'm in pain at the minute. I've just had surgery. I've got to get Chrissy to chaperone me all over the place. We get there, I've got to set up, and I'm hopping about, trying to get stuff together. And we get back as well after doing this hard day. I was actually part of the podcast as well. So I've got in mind how I'm going to talk and what I'm going to say. I'm setting it all up. It's going really well, but it's not easy. It's a constant graft. But inside, my heart is throbbing and buzzing because I'm with my partner, who I really do love. I'm helping somebody achieve their goal, which is actually fascinating to me because it's part of mental health. I really care about mental health because I suffered so strongly as you did. And I enjoy the platform that it is. I get back... And the last part of the podcast, he must have kicked out, Dan, you tit, but he must have kicked out the battery because one of the files was corrupt. And all this effort that I'm putting in, constant, I can't get that data back. And he doesn't know this yet, but it was only the last 10 minutes. So in that moment... I could have started smacking my head like I would have done before and throwing things and getting angry and thinking, fuck this. But I had an hour of content all there with all the footage I need. And the last 10 minutes was just actually the version of me had gone. and I still had a camera of both of us, and I still had a camera on him. So I got angry for a second because I'm like, fuck, I did it all perfect. I put all this effort in. But then I spun it on its head. I relaxed, I calmed, I had like a minute of meditation, and then just thought, Mikey, I've got all these bits of footage left. I've got everything I need. It's the last 10 minutes of just me. I can have the camera on both of us. You're going to be all right. And I span it on its head because I was thinking, I don't want to feel shit for the rest of the day. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to let my mood come out on my daughter and on Chrissy and the family. I want to feel good. I know what happiness is. It's that feeling, that buzzing that I get. And it's when I'm smiling. It's when I'm watching. I feel relaxed. I feel really relaxed and at joy. So I put myself in that space. I goes, that's what I want. It's not the end of the world. I know you've put in a fuckload of effort on this. I know something's gone wrong. But remember what you want. Remember who you are, and that it got me, man.
I needed to hear that, bro. It's been a tough week or two. Can we just pause it for a second?
Yes, man. Yeah, we'll keep it rolling, but we'll pause it, brother.
It's been a tough few weeks for me with moving house and just everything. And the reason I'm getting upset is because I was so frustrated, and I've not necessarily took it out on people, but I have in a way as well. I've been very aggressive and very blunt. And when you were saying that you didn't want to take it out on Chrissy and Ella, and I've not been nasty to my loved ones and Chloe, but I've definitely not been as good. And she understands. I explain to her, we communicate, but I've been getting so angry at little things for no reason. Like I've got a dish rack where I wash the dishes and a knife fell out onto the floor, and I'm like, I dropped my keys and I kicked them across the floor. But the thing is my problem is not the things that are happening, it's how I'm perceiving them. I'm perceiving them in a way that I'm like, everything's going wrong. And then every time something happens, my phone falls down. That's another thing that's gone wrong. No, it's just a thing that's happened. And what you've just said beautifully there is you took the thing that went wrong and then you fixed it and created your own happiness. And that's the part of the equation I've been missing. I've been missing okay, what's positive out of this? And I lost that because I was so tired and beat up, bro. But I've had no one to unload, because every time I try and tell someone, you can see it, they switch off, and I don't blame them. No one wants to listen to anyone's shit. Everyone's got their own shit going on, man. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, mate, it's fucking hard. It's really fucking hard, especially when you're in that place to start spinning things on their head. And that's what I want to do, is not let people hit rock bottom. I want to catch them on the way down and go, don't hit there, because it's fucking hard to listen to this on that hit and then go back up. You've got to start building and building and building, and not doing this, we did let ourselves fall deeper and deeper and deeper. And it takes a certain someone to listen to you, because I've been through what you've been through. I've been through them trials and tribulations. I feel I've hit that fucking rock bottom. I've been as low as I feel I could have possibly gone. Man, I've told you my story and I won't go through it, but I literally typed in easiest ways to die, and I was happier then because I'd found a way out. I was so ready to go. I thought, I'm all right now, because I know I'm not going to exist anymore, and it's not going to be so painful. Somebody saved me on a Reddit thread, and we know that what happened next. But it takes somebody like me to come and talk to and offload onto, and I get the same out of it. I get 50%, you get 50%. We're both doing it because we're both healing, and we're constantly going to be healing.
It's that equal exchange. And like you said, when you've been through certain scenarios and you've hit certain lows, you can see it in other people a little bit. You can see when people are beginning to go through it, and you can kind of eventually, when you've mastered the skill, when you've become better at the skill, you can influence people and almost manipulate them into maybe a different direction. But it does take, and sometimes it's not telling. It's like you couldn't sit here and go, Zach, you need to do this, and this. What you did beautifully there is you said what you did, and I could relate to that story. And I was like, shit. That's what I've been doing. That's what I need to do, rather than you sit there and telling me. That's why these podcasts are beautiful. Not just this one, but all podcasts out there. Yeah. Because when we hear someone talk about their trials and tribulations and how they solved them, we then have the choice. And everyone as human beings wants the choice. You wanted the choice of what you wore today. You want the choice of what you drink. You also want the choice of how and when you make better choices in your life. Like, you don't want someone to say, Zach, stop drinking alcohol. You want to go, right, I want to stop drinking alcohol. It feels better. And that's what we get out of these podcasts. We get the ability to say, oh, that's what's going on in their life. Oh, that's how I can change my life. And then that's how you change people's lives, by helping them change their own life.
And I don't want to be dismissive to other people and their problems, but do you know, if we're offloading onto people that haven't really been through true what I perceive as pain, it's going to be very hard for them to hold on to what you're saying, and I'd dismiss it if that was the case. Do you know what I mean? You've got to pick them people. And for me, what you just said then beautifully was, I was going into lots of schools and telling my story, because I felt for a part of my time my story was really important because of the craziness that it'd been on. There might be 3 people in that school or in that prison or wherever I went and spoke to that understood, and they could go, oh, he's doing all right now, he's got somewhere with it, maybe I can heal from that. The podcast I went to yesterday, he chooses not to use his story, but he just reads loads of books, has loads of content, and then creates his own and gives advice out as quite generic advice, which is really great too. That's his way of accessing people. Mine's all through what I've been through, because I don't choose to go on them vehement searches of information overload and so on, which he seems to do really well. So we all find a way in of helping people, and I think mine is by just experiencing some of the things I've been through and saying, have you felt that way too? Do you know what I'm on about? Have you experienced this?
Definitely. And at the same time, like when we always talk about helping people, sometimes it's not necessarily about helping people, like, because that's part of their journey. If you took if someone helped us when we was younger and just took away that painful part of our journey, we wouldn't be where we are today. So like, therefore, I'm kind of grateful for the pain.
Yeah.
So therefore, sometimes it's not about trying to reduce the pain or not take away the pain that people are feeling, but help them to better see it for what it potentially could be, I guess.
I think what I want to be is
really muscular. me, I don't know.
Just get rid of this, mate. I remember in my real hot time of psychosis, it was when I started questioning my nan, and that's when I knew I was fucked, because she was the best human in my life, saved me through everything, the bullying, the hurt I was going through. She was there all the time, and then I thought she was trying to kill me. So after that I thought, Mikey, sort your shit together, because she's a very good lady. And I was laid down in my bedroom and I put shuffle on, and in the time I've been listening to trippy songs anyway and weird stuff and people talking about psychosis and schizophrenia and so on. And there was this artist come on called Idea, Eyedea. I think he's dead now, but what an incredible conscious artist, and he's a rapper. And dude, there was a song on, and it's a 10-minute song, and it's called The Dive. And the first bit for 5 minutes scared the shit out of me, because it was literally me. It was him talking about psychosis and what he'd been through, and it was getting darker and dingier and darker and dingier, and I was like, I don't think I can last through this song. But stupid tenacious me's like, I'm gonna stick it. No, I'm going through this. So I got to it, and then suddenly he goes through this sort of ego deathing song, and he comes back round. And I've got to send you the song, man. But the next 5 minutes was orgasmic. It was the most powerful song I've ever heard, explaining that you've got this. You're gonna be all right. You get out of this, and the feeling you get after you've been to the lowest of the lows is the most esoteric, godlike experience you're ever gonna get.
And it happens in cycles as well. That doesn't it?
Dude,
but we forget that, don't we? We seem to forget that.
And that's what, when I get to my lows, and I still get my lows, man, I know it's coming. Yeah. I know it's coming, so I'm not as scared anymore.
You've got a gift that you can remember that, because when you're in the low, you can get blinded by the smog, and it's like, I'm never going to get out of this.
Writing, man. You're a lyricist.
I actually want to talk, speaking of being in the smog and being in a bit of a negative position at the minute, I want to talk about how do you feel people's attitudes and towards each other and towards themselves are at the minute, having just come out of lockdown back into society?
Can I be really truthful?
Yeah, of course. Do it.
For myself,
just for this second of the podcast.
After what we went through in that space of time, I've now been stupidly selective with what I experience in my life and my days, and I'm surrounding it, and I don't know if it's blindsiding, I don't know if it's short-sighted, but it's worked. And I've pressed the mute button 1,000,000 times on what I don't want to see. When I'm going to the gym, I know who's my vibe and I know who suits my way of thinking. Because in that patch, what we were going through, I felt like I did need to appease everybody. I needed everyone to like me because we're building a business. I love my family and I want the business to be successful and thriving. And I'm really worried if it's not, that people aren't going to come to the workshops, people aren't going to come to the farm in general. It's going to harm us. But we're good fucking people. We're really good people. So the right people are going to come along for this ride because they know who we are deep down. And we're starting to get that. It's emanating because they're coming along for the ride. They know who we are. They know what we're about and they want to join force.
Yeah, I like that.
So I'm not worried anymore. So in terms of how I think people are acting, I've got a short vision on very fucking well. Very good, because the ones I'm experiencing at the minute are very creative. They're doers. They're not thinking about the politics so much. They're not thinking about the angry, negative sides of our nature. They're saying, "What? This is feeding our writing. This is feeding my creativity. This is feeding my art. This is making me a better person," because there's so much polarity now.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm experiencing, man.
No, I like that. I think after the scenario that we went through with the attacks and the difference of opinions, let's just call it. I think I shut off, and I think it started gradual and it got quicker and it got steeper. But I shut off from a lot of people. Like I was like, I just don't trust or want to be around nearly anybody.
Yeah,
I'm like, I just don't want to. I just don't see. I felt like I couldn't. I actually went from trusting women and loving women to after that to losing a lot of trust for women because of the way that the situation was handled, and then I just lost trust for everybody. I'd be walking around, I'd be going shopping or driving, and I don't know if this is because of I think this is the question I'm asking. Is it my perception, my distorted view of reality, or is it the situation we've all been through over the last year? But it sounded like everyone was against each other and aggressive, like people trying to cut each other up in the cars and in shopping, people are getting in front of you. And when I was trying to fill up your van for some fuel, and I'm sat back waiting patiently, the entrance to the fuel station's here, the petrol pumps were full, and this guy just comes in, could see me waiting, and just went and parked right behind, in front of the entrance, right behind. And I was like, what's this? So I pulled up at the side. I was waiting for that. And he kicks off. He's like, ah. So I just smiling and waving at him. I ended up driving up. But everyone just seems to be against each other. Everyone's for themselves. And I don't know if it's because everyone's, like I say, is it my distorted view of reality? Or is it, and I feel it in myself as well. I'm feeling very selfish recently. Or is it because we've all been locked indoors with ourselves, for ourselves, in our own company, and we're like, anyone outside of that now needs to step away.
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of those things, mate, because I do think you attract that in your life when you're feeling a certain way. Like you say about energies, it comes to you. I believe in The Secret. I think that's a kid's book into what The Secret actually is.
The law of attraction.
The law of attraction. Yeah. I'm more and more each day a believer of that, because certain coincidences or serendipitous moments have started to feel more than that. And I think very much about be conscious, be aware, be wise of your energy that you're putting out.
And it's funny, I just want to give you an example of that. Like, so and me knowing this, I kick myself in the leg because I'm going around with this energy in my chest that I'm feeling negative, and I'm attracting it all. And I'm like, Zach, you're attracting this. I'm like, but I can't change it right now. And then last night, after I had a couple of drinks and we lay down with Chloe and we had the sexy time. I think it was either after or before that. I think I had a shower anyway. And the shower, it's the first shower I had at my house. And the shower's dead nice. It's like high pressure. There's lots of space in there. It's a stand-up shower with the doors closed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was feeling good. And I was like, this is actually, okay, I'm grateful for this shower. That's one thing of today that I can find that I'm grateful for. I looked down, there was 15p on the floor in the shower. And I was like, I was like, you know what? I've been losing money. I've been spending money. I've been having this.
Back to you.
And it's like, and the 15p made me feel really good because I was like, find a penny, pick it up for the rest of the day. You'll have good luck. I found 15 of the fuckers, mate. It's got to be at least 15 times worth.
That's big, yeah.
And then when I'm coming to see you, I'm feeling good and everything. And is it that we're attracting better things like a magnet, or is it that we're seeing it differently and we're able to react differently, therefore creating our own reality?
That's the culmination coming together because, like I said yesterday, I lost that footage. I'd been doing as hard as I could. I've been putting out into the energy, into the world, into the ether that I'm really trying, and still something went wrong. But still, I got to change my mindset. I got to flip it on its head and change my reality in that way. So I think it's a big part of how you see things, how you act, how you treat people. It all works together in a constant. Does that make sense? Does that understand for me? Because I've not had my best part of my life recently after it all, but it was how I was viewing other people. I did have that for a while, but I'm honest, like something as simple as the mute button after that really changed my world. It did, and I can use social media in my way, which is promoting the business, promoting what we do, and I can do that with people. Like, do you know when I'm confronted with somebody who's being aggressive, or just, do you know about politics at the minute? It's all so up in the air and angry, and the cancel culture or whatever it is. And I'm balanced with that. I just try and keep feeding in nice aspects of it, but it's good that people are thinking now, though, isn't it? It's good that people are questioning things.
I don't know. I think there's a certain point where too much questioning. So there's two ways I'm looking at this. Way number one is too much questioning, too much asking questions, too much thinking for ourselves. Seems to be toxic, mate. We just seem to, because we think ourselves into groups of people, and then we divide ourselves because we're thinking too much into that. And now on the other side of it, if you look at a long timeline of Earth and humanity, let's say, over hundreds of thousands of years, are we just in a part where we need to get this thinking and these questions asked to get rid of toxicity so that we can move forward as a civilization, as a race, as individuals? Or are we leading ourselves into our own demise through asking too many questions? There's something about wanting to know too much and wanting to get involved too much and almost play God. Because we ask the questions, what if we could, how can we, now we can. Oh, now we can create life, and now we can take life away, and now we're creating artificial life. And how far do we go before it's either yes, it's a positive and God never existed and that was all wrong, or is it there was something in that?
You get to perceive it. It is what it is. There's an isness of the world. There's an isness of life. And how do you want to feel on the daily is the most important. I completely believe that. So I think the overstimulation, being locked away, the overthinking is affecting people, but we are starting to integrate back. We are starting to have our rights back, which is going out, making music, making art, doing things we like to do, being in a restaurant. I don't like that we've been snatched away. Oh, here you go, have it back. But how I perceive things, how I'm doing things is I've lived pretty much how I wanted to live throughout all this. When I got attacked, in my opinion, I had a distorted view for about a few weeks of what I saw people as, what I saw females as in that way. But it only took me a minute to be around my mum, be around my grandma, be around Chrissy, be around friends that I really like, to go, oh, that was just not nice people. And I think that's what happens, mate, is we distort our views through not nice people doing not nice things.
And I wasn't being nice. I wasn't being nice to people. I wasn't being horrible, but I wasn't smiling at people usually. I usually would at the petrol station. I'd be like, I don't even want to talk to people. But then the thing is life is just a reflection of the inside. So I'm basically, it's almost as if I was angry at myself for being a nasty person and taking it out on other people and saying, they're angry, not me. It's them.
Do you know what? Do you know when they were ripping down the statues and everything back in there?
Yeah.
This is my argument for keeping the statues. I don't know if I've told you this before. I said it on a podcast, but this is one of the most profound moments in my life. And when I lived in South Africa, I went out for a date day on my own. So I took myself out and I went to this small town and they had sort of a monument on or an art exhibition on. And I just started walking around it and they had some statues up. And what was incredible in this place was the first statue I came to was Adolf Hitler. I thought, uh-oh, where have I turned up here? But then I walked around it. And cleverly, directly facing him, sort of quite far away though, but they were made to face exactly right. They must have got the maths out and everything. Was, who was it? It was Nelson Mandela. And then I started walking around and there was all dictators of the past, but also huge, prolific figures of the past, all facing one another. And then I started to read the plaque. And the plaque literally said the same thing on every single one. And it said, the line between good and evil runs through every human heart.
That's beautiful. Wow, that's beautiful, man.
And they're all staring each other down.
Yeah, just you explaining it. Cause
Dude.
When you look at evil people, we look at them as solely evil.
Yeah.
And when we look at good people, we look at them as solely good, but it's never the case.
No.
There's always a distorted mix of both and past experiences that kind of dictate that.
And good people act in bad ways, bad people act in good ways, and vice versa, and constant. So that's how I started wanting to see people again, is they were a baby. They were literally just a baby and have been programmed constantly throughout their life journey. And there are genetics of that computer, of certain ways of being, and you need to nurture ones in certain ways differently. But we've all just been programmed through this. So how people act now, how people act in certain ways, we have to just be compassionate to it. We have to understand.
I think empathetic, at least.
Yeah.
If you can't show compassion towards it, because that's a big word of lots of feeling, at least be empathetic and just, internally understand and accept. I think empathy is an understanding and an acceptance combined. Speaking of people being programmed, what's your thoughts on vaccines?
Okay. I'm just biding my time and waiting. That's what I'm doing. I've listened to information here, there and everywhere, and I saw what it was doing to my soul and my psyche, and it didn't make me feel good. I've been scared of hospitals all my life. You can imagine how I felt recently. And I didn't want my TB jab. I didn't want any jabs going into me. I've just been a scared soul towards it. I think when I was a kid, I was really fat and I had to go to the doctors a lot. And they had to inject me with stuff all the time. And then, honestly...
No wonder you were fucked, bro.
It took me about 4 or 5 of them to pin me down sometimes. I just wouldn't do vaccines. There was something in my nature that said, it doesn't feel right. I didn't want it. So anything like that, my brain is just always skeptical of. That's how I operate. That's how I work. I don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, but it's me. That's what it is. So... what I saw it doing to me when I was really researching it and looking into it, it made me feel very negative, very uncertain, and I don't like being in that space. So what I've done is just biding my time, listen to certain podcasts that aren't about it, but then bring it in. And my ears do prick in when I listen. I go, oh, what are they saying? Because I want to know what people think. But I've not spent my energy in that line, in honesty, mate.
So me neither. I've not researched into what's in it to a degree. I've researched into. I've been reading books that talk about what mRNA is and it wasn't specifically because I wanted to look into vaccines. It was a book on artificial intelligence, and it just happened to be in there, which is kind of convenient. And a book about health and longevity and how to be the healthiest person possible. And then it talks about nanotechnology in medicines, etc., which is what this vaccine is. But like my view on the last year and a half and then this vaccine is stage 1 when it first come out. David Icke was talking about, this is in March when it first came out, David Icke was talking about this is where they want it to go. Mandatory vaccinations, COVID passports, COVID certificate of vaccination identification. That's what they want. A year later, everyone's like, this guy's crazy. A year later, this is what's happening. Okay, cool. Maybe good guess. You know, one out of God knows how many weird conspiracies has come out. And then throughout the last year and a half, there's been even something come out in the news about the numbers have been tweaked. I mean, you know, the death numbers. It was like, even in BBC News, it come out. And obviously, I mean, I don't trust the news, but when the news is saying something about the death numbers have been manipulated, at least other people might. Yeah, I mean, at least other people might see that. And then also, I've known lots and lots of people with COVID who probably shouldn't have survived it, given the information we had at the beginning. Or I also know people that should have caught it because they was going about doing their business, and there was actually at a disadvantage with their immune system because of stuff that's happened to them in the past. So all of a sudden, and also people, even though everyone was sticking to the rules, we was wearing the mask, we was staying indoors, and we was doing all the business. You'd ask people and you'd say, what do you think? They say, well, something's not right. Something doesn't feel right. Something's not right. You know, well, it's just a cold. It's just this. Oh, it's not. There'd be a few people that was really involved and like, yeah, I've lost someone from it. Like, okay, cool. I'm sorry that I've offended you with my opinion and belief system. But then all of a sudden, it's as if everyone's forgot the last year and a half of craziness, of uncertainty, of questions, and all of a sudden it's, by the way, take your vaccine. Everyone's people are promoting it now on the Instagrams and the Facebook, like, had my jab, and yeah, I hear it in the streets, and I've had my first one, and got my second one coming up. It's like, but if I was to say to you, here's a tablet, and this is going to protect you from a possibility of something that you know, you've probably already caught, or you're not, people would look at me and go, no, I don't need that. And it's like, do you need? Can I ask you a question? Do you think you need a vaccine to save you from the COVID that has been whatever over this last year and a half? Do you believe that you need it to save your life?
No, but the way the media or people would have twisted it is, yeah, but it's not about you. It's about protecting somebody else.
So if they get theirs,
that's my belief. What you're saying.
So, but why? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense, brother.
Agree.
People aren't asking questions anymore.
It's very convoluted in that. But they are equipping people with slogans and jargon.
It's like nursery.
And
Have you heard it on the
say.
adverts? It's like being at a nursery class. It's like hands, face, space.
Yeah.
Hands, face, space. And there's all these little rhyming words. And what's the new one? I don't know. There's a new one, but because I'm listening to Spotify and it'll come on. It's like just rhyming words, and it's as if.
Well, again, yeah, because if you go down these rabbit holes with people who are all for it or all against it, the for it's are going to have an array of equipment and tools to say to anything you say next. They'll be able to, in this podcast now, if they're all for it, have something ready to go, yeah, but, and yeah, but, and yeah, but. And it's because they've
been equipped.
They've done this master plan of turning people on each other.
Yep.
So, again, with my compassionate heart, all I'm going to go towards it is, I understand it's all coming from a place of fear. Nobody wants them or their loved ones to die. And if they've been told constantly in whatever media platform they've decided to listen to that this is important, this is integral, you are going to die, we're all unsafe, do this, do this, do this, that's where the hearts are going to be.
I don't think it's even because of the loved ones dying, because everyone's been hugging the loved ones during, everyone knows that, we've been visiting, even if we've been outside of windows and stuff. I think it's when they started bringing out the information, misinformation, whatever you want to call it, that was, you've got to have your vaccine to travel. You might need a vaccine to attend certain events.
Yeah,
because every time I ask people, they go,
conquer and divide.
Yeah,
divide and conquer.
Every time I've asked people who I wouldn't have thought would have got the vaccine, they said, well, I just want to be able to go on holiday. That's crazy, mate. That's crazy. That's absolutely bonkers. The fact that if this thing was so deadly, we shouldn't even need an incentive.
What I feel for that is, why can't I just prove to you that I've not got COVID at the airport? Have a test done and say, right, I've got the car, I've not got COVID. Go and do your holiday. Come back, do your swab, isolate. Say I've not got COVID. That makes the most sense to me. I don't need a passport to say I've had this injection in my arm.
Well, here's why I'm wondering what the vaccine's actually for then, because it's not just a bit of liquid that's been thrown around because they want people to abide. So I've got my own conspiracy that I've made up myself. It's not real.
Good on you, lad.
Just disclaimer: this is not real. It's not backed by any evidence, and it is in fact just a conspiracy theory.
This is a conversation.
Yeah. So remember at the start of this throughout this, there's been lots of cancellations on YouTube and quieting of information. But there's two types of quieting. There's get rid of it, ban it, don't talk about it, otherwise there's going to be consequences. Or there's you've been fact-checked. Yeah? So there's two types. Type 1, I've only ever seen it, and maybe this is just my view on what I've seen, and I've not seen everything, obviously, but is the 5G stuff got cancelled really quick, and to the point where it was slammed, it was removed, no one spoke about it ever again. I'm not saying 5G caused coronavirus. I'm saying that there's studies that 3G and 4G create reduction in, this is all published studies. The 3G and 4G, and this is 3G that I saw the study, so I'm guessing 4G is the same because it's of a higher frequency, higher wavelength. Decreases the quality of sperm and the reproductive system. Okay, it can, when kept in the pocket and around those areas, can cause problems in those areas because of the radio signals that and the electromagnetic frequencies that are in the phone. They interact with the cells of the organs in the body. So 5G, because it's so fucking fast.
Oh, I don't like this.
It's so because they used to use 5G in the army and to crowd control, and you can use it to manipulate cell, and it can also it's proved that it could, in high amounts, cause cancer. In high amounts, I'm not saying that 5G masts. So my question is, that got slammed. Is this an mRNA? So the mRNA vaccine, what mRNA, to my understanding, is you've got DNA, which creates and releases proteins into the body. The body's made up of proteins. DNA gives you everything from your brown eyes to how your facial hair is, to how much muscle you can hold, to your bone density, to how your body deals with stress, to how your body deals with radiomagnetic frequencies. So mRNA, which is in the vaccine, changes what proteins the DNA decides to release. It doesn't change the DNA itself. It's like a messenger RNA. It's like, okay, we need you to do this, this, and this. From my understanding, I may be wrong. Please correct me if I am. What if, and this is a conspiracy.
I'm with you, mate. I've heard.
What if this vaccine isn't for the COVID as such, and they've manipulated this disease that they released or whatever, or manipulated the story to get everyone to have the vaccine because they're really intent on everyone having it, everybody, and it's actually to protect us from the damaging effects of 5G on the DNA. And they've managed to, because Elon Musk said with mRNA you can do practically anything. You can do practically anything in the body. What if they found something that can protect people from the 5G radio waves so that they can continue their growth of artificial intelligence, of capitalism, of profit, of investment? And yeah, it's going to have benefits such as like increased, advanced healthcare. There's going to be nanotechnology. Elon Musk's got the Neuralink that's going to be able to help people with spinal disorders and brain disorders and this and that.
Blindness, deafness.
All of it, brother. So yeah, it has positives, but like at what cost? And is that what the vaccine's really for? Is it a protection against the frequency of 5G?
I'm with you. I'm with you. Another thing, did you watch the Rogan podcast with the Dr. Swan?
Nah, bro, I stopped watching everything. I'm just tired of...
Dude, well, what you just got to there on the 3G and the reducing sperm count, this study is really interesting, but it's what's in our foods at the minute, and particularly what it's wrapped instead of plastics. And this is 100% God-sent truth. Like the scientific community on the whole have all accepted this as a complete truth. And what the plastics are doing into our food and what we're consuming
the estrogenic effects.
Completely reducing all the sperm count. It's in men and women and even our penis sizes. And attracting men. And watch
Just
that
give someone a rundown on that, actually. The study about the penis sizes.
Oh, she measured it in young boys, but
strange.
Again, from 1969 to present, it wasn't like a plateau of like a smaller chord. It was sharp, rapid underdevelopment.
Of average, underdevelopment of the sexual organs.
It was in young boys they did it, but then they looked at sperm count in men, and that went further and further and further and rapid. Yeah, so that podcast... I had to take a nap after that, and it was damning. And the thing is, with the scientific community, when they fund a study, they don't refund it because it costs so much money. It cost her £5 million to perform this study and go and do all the research around the world and so on. But they redid that study, so they give her the refunding and re-money to do it. Found again in the second study worse than they imagined. So it's It's powerful, and you go.
And you can see it in men.
Is it a conspiracy? Have they done this? Is it for purpose? Are they trying to reduce the amount of people on the population of the planet?
Well, you can't go around. You can't do what Hitler did. You can't do what Hitler did. You can't go and kill millions of people of one ethnicity, one religion, one colour, whatever, one sex. What you can do, though, is you can stop people from you can reduce the ability to reproduce and procreate.
And is it a byproduct of just being
Greed.
Careless capitalists and, just wrap it in plastic?
Whatever it
that's
is,
easy
mate,
to
whatever
go,
it is, whether you want to come from it from the conspiracy, whether you want to come from it from science,
there is an isness.
we need to look at that. We need to look at that. But then again, I was driving around yesterday or the day before. Maybe this is a nasty way to look at it, I'm going to be honest, but I was looking and I was driving around, what do you call them, areas that aren't as affluent. Deprived areas. And you can tell by the houses, the way the gardens, the cars, etc., and the way that people look after their health. So people are a lot heavier, and you could see that they were struggling. And they all had kids. And I was thinking, this is going to sound awful, but I was thinking maybe there needs to be some kind of a vetting service of who is allowed to reproduce. Because is it fair that we bring a human into this world? I'm asking myself this, and this is why I don't have children right now. Is it fair to bring a human into the world accidentally when you haven't fixed yourself and you've got so many problems and you're so broken and you're so unhealthy? Is it fair to bring a kid into this world when you're trying to, without the ability to help them along their journey? And are you going to pass your problems on to them unknowingly? So then do these rich people see it? And they go, because they're all very highly intellectually sprung. They work in a very mind way rather than heart, I'd guess.
Yeah.
Do they look at that and see it as I do, but worse, because they're even further down the line? And do they go, right, we need to stop this disease? Because if you listen to COVID...
Hey, where were they from then? Sounded Russian.
Oh, don't you?
But we need to stop this
We need to stop this disease from Mars, mate. Elon Musk's little planet. Yeah, no, and this is what they keep saying about we need to stop the disease, and it almost sounds like they're talking about humanity, bro. Because in my and this is just a distorted view, but I think humanity is somewhat of a disease to a degree.
I know what you're saying.
Or there is a disease that runs ripe through humanity. Or what's his name? The Power of Now, that guy.
Eckhart Tolle.
But he says the mind virus, doesn't he? That constant thinking.
The biggest disease we have is thought.
Yeah, and it's definitely... Yeah.
I think that's the thing I always see thrown around is, people are the virus. It's always said, people are the virus. But that is a one way of looking at it. We could see it as that.
Well, the virus isn't the people.
And again, we can see people as an awful resource onto this planet and we've just stripped it of everything. Or we can look at the wonderful, incredible things humanity has developed and made in our eyes because of a human perspective. But that, in honestly, my soul, that's what I channel. That's what I look at and what I believe in. And if I'm looking at how I see the one percenters imagining things and reimagining the world, I don't agree with that to its core. But I love that question you asked. Is it right having kids in not just these areas, but with these mindsets and these poorly developed attitudes? Because I do see it a lot of the time, and I've been to those houses, in fact, and I feel very sorry for the people that have to live in that lifestyle, because I don't care what your house looks like on the outside or inside, it's the amount of love in that home.
Yeah.
And the ones that are deprived of the love, I feel very sorry for.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of health as well, a little bit of an update on my health journey as such. So I've been going into organic foods more recently, trying to stay away from as much as possible. Any kind of pesticides, any kind of toxicity, heavy metals, plastics. I'm one at a time. I'm starting with food. I'm drinking water out of bottles rather than taps because you still got the plastic, but tap water is like one of the worst waters to drink. What else we got? Yeah, grass-fed, wild-caught fish, grass-fed beef where I can. Not all the time, but as much as possible.
Yeah.
And staying away from wheat. Got rid of wheat completely. Because it's just awful for you. Not just gluten, but wheat itself, because it's been genetically modified over the years to produce more crop.
Can our bodies not break it down very well? The enzymes.
So basically, from what I've understood from research, and this isn't, the stomach is like a dishcloth, so it's got little holes in it. And what that does is it kind of it's got permeability. It lets nutrients seep into the blood to be carried around. The problem is wheat tends to make those small holes bigger and leak macro particles of food, bigger particles of food into the bloodstream. Well, then what happens is the body goes, these macro particles aren't supposed to be in the blood.
Right.
So it creates antibodies, little guys with guns going, blast it, bam, bam. So they're going around the body. Do you ever see Osmo, what is it? Do you know the cartoon with the pill and the blue guy?
Dude, I've not seen it.
Anyway, so these guys...
I'll put it as a little clip up.
Brilliant, mate. So these guys going around the body blasting off all this macro particles, but the macro particles get stuck to glands like the thyroid gland, like the kidneys. And then these antibodies are blasting at the thyroid gland, and then people develop thyroid disorders.
Right, okay.
And people develop diabetes and that and everything else, because all this crap isn't supposed to be in the body. But those holes can heal up, but because we're eating wheat every day, they're going...
Blasting it.
Heal.
Yeah,
and then eventually it stops
yeah.
healing and it gets bigger and bigger, and then you have leaky gut syndrome.
I've heard of that.
You've got a geezer here, mate. A geezer.
Oh, hey up, mate. I'm so sorry. It ran on, yeah. We record. It's Owen, ladies and gentlemen.
How you doing, Owen?
He runs full reptile. We'll be done in literally.
Does he want to come and sit down?
I will always come and sit down.
Come and have a sit down, mate.
Mate, I'll be talking mad shit.
Yeah, he's a wild one, that one. You need to do a podcast with him.
We'll do it, definitely. We'll wrap this one up, mate, and then we'll...
Where's Chrissy?
Just on the house, matey.
Nice to meet you, bro.
I can edit that.
That's okay, mate. That's okay.
We should do an episode on diet again, because we've done episodes towards nutrition, but I feel some of the episodes we've done to revisit, because I know our mindsets
I've learned a lot more as well. Yeah, I've learned a lot more.
Have changed, so I'd like to do that. But mate, I think it's been a good hour podcast. That's our longest one. It's a good one to come back to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to get fact checked.
Can we keep doing this? Can we just keep doing these podcasts? Because I need it in my life.
Yeah,
mate.
man. Yeah, definitely. I do want to continue with it.
You wrap us up, mate. You're good at wrapping us up.
Guys, just like a safe penis, we're going to put a condom on it and wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. If you did tune in, sorry it's been so long. We've been learning, we've been developing, and we're hoping we can bring those trials and tribulations and the lessons we've learned through to you guys. So thank you as always.
Remember, we are only experts of ourselves, and with that, we're trying to help you. So big love to you all. Really enjoyed being back. Words and Wisdom podcast. We're here to stay, baby.
Peace.
Big love.